Okay, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. We have a very special and rare piece. It's actually a prototype from Nick Harris of Watches by Nick fame. Before we jump into that, let's talk a little bit about Watches by Nick. Of course, it's a US-based brand, mainly specializing in watch modifications in the past, and which were normally Seiko based. And this is essentially Nick's first take at an original model that he's dubbing the Orion 1. So really cool and really excited to have this on the channel. Big fan of everything that Nick is doing. So I guess I would class this watch as an everyday wristwatch. And as far as kind of key features for a watch that, can be worn every day, is you're going to want something that's extremely versatile, and it can be dressed both up and down. So I think that that's something really special that this watch has. And, I'm looking forward to diving right in to the specs for you guys. So let's zoom out and pick this bad boy up. All right. So get it to focus here. This is the Orion 1. It has a set retail price of $500, but there is right now a pre-order sale for $400, which I think is a great deal. And we're going to go into some of the reasons why I think that. So it is a 38 millimeter, which is very classic. And, for me, 38 millimeters used to sound really small. I used to kind of think nothing below 40. But honestly, kind of as I've expanded my horizons outside of just pure sports watches and mainly dive watches, I've actually found that 38 millimeters is actually a really extremely nice sweet spot as far as sizing goes. So the height is 12.3 millimeters. As you can see, it's a really nice profile here. This, of course, is one of the, this watch has done some traveling through a select few of people. So, it is a little bit banged up here and there, but really, I don't think that takes away from the aesthetic. I think it looks great. So, of course, this is stainless steel. It is brushed and polished, mostly polished, as you can see. Really just the tops of the lugs, which are nicely curved down, are brushed. Everything else is pretty much polished. So the crystal is a sapphire, and it's domed with an inner AR coating. I don't know, as you can see, it has that nice blue tint to the AR there. Alright, as far as the bezel goes, it has a very high polished bezel, which of course is a great blank canvas for Nick with his well-known hand engravings that he does. As far as the crown goes, it's actually a screw down crown and it's signed. And I have to tell you, this is one of my favorite features about this watch. I mean, the crown action is fantastic. Just, so you can see there, the winding. Just really nice. Then this just goes in. I mean, even with gloves, look at that. Really nice 9mm crown. I mean, that thing is just perfect. It just feels great. I think it looks great. It really adds, visual interest as well as it's extremely functional. So really, really loving that crown action. And then, of course, the knurling on it is also really great. Okay, so the movement is actually Seiko Instruments NH35, which is basically an unbranded 4R35 movement from Seiko. It's really, it's wonderful movement, hacking, hand windable. It's the movement that many people will swap into Seiko mods, when they're upgrading, let's say, an SKX, and they want to add hacking and hand winding, which is something that the 7S26 movement doesn't offer. Normally the NH35 or 36 is going to be the direction they're going to go. So basically the only difference between the 35 and 36 is the day wheel versus just the date with the 35. So 36 being day date, and then 35 being just the date. It of course beats at 6 beats per second, so it has a nice 3 Hertz movement, which I think, as you can see here, It's just chugging along pretty nicely. Oh, it's hard to get that in the light. Then it's one of the things that actually makes this watch very hard to capture in photos, is to really just capture the way, because the light is just jumping around and playing on top of this so many different ways, especially with the studio lights. But as you can see, that nicely sweeping automatic hand, so definitely aesthetically very pleasing, as well as, you know, nice feature, and kind of makes you feel more connected to a watch when it is an automatic, which is very nice. So as far as the case back, it is sterile, so there's not much to show, so I won't bother pulling it off of the strap that I have it on here, which is kind of a mix between a NATO and a purloin. So I just really wanted to kind of play off of the vintage aesthetic that I feel like this watch has. It has, I mean, it doesn't, I guess it reminds me of a lot of different vintage watches, but it doesn't actually look like a particular vintage watch. I'd say, you know, the aesthetic definitely has kind of military kind of aesthetic to it, but at the same time, maybe something, you know, the dial kind of reminds me of a few different Omegas, and then the kind of the case reminds me of more kind of a military. But I mean, I think you put it all together, and it kind of has this very cool Art Deco aesthetic, which I'm really digging, and almost kind of a modern explorer almost. So I mean, there's just so many. I mean, I'd hate to compare this watch to anything else, because I think that it is kind of very much doing its own thing, and really doing it well. So, but just kind of my thoughts as far as theme wise, what it could be akin to. You know, I would think of it as kind of that all, you know, every man's watch, kind of every situation. You know, that's kind of what this falls into. All right, so as far as the dial goes, it has applied indices, which are loomed, which is very nice. And of course, the hour and minute hand are also loomed. Let me get some of the dust off of this bad boy. Sorry about that. And then it does have 20 millimeter lugs, which are drilled. And one thing I want to mention about these lugs is that it really has a nice sweep down. So I mean, when you're looking at it from the top, you might be worried maybe the lug to lug is a little bit long, but when you see it from the side, you can see that because of that taper, it really just blends the watch, and it just wraps it right around your wrist, and it just really contours whatever strap you have on it to just really wrap around the wrist very nicely. So, oh, one thing I forgot to mention is that the watch is 100 meters water resistant, which is really great. So definitely very cool. So let me go ahead and get this on the wrist. Okay, get this glove off here. And why not? Go ahead and get it on here. See if I can do it with the glove on. Okay. Cool thing about these types of straps is that you can get the hole perfectly wherever you need it. So a little difficult with the glove here, but okay. Sorry about that. Okay, let me just feed this tongue through here. I like to loop it back through. Okay, now this is on my 7¼ inch wrist. I think, as you can tell, it doesn't look small, it doesn't look big. I mean, maybe up close it might look a little big, but on person, you know, if you were to see me kind of standing in front of a mirror, or, you know, just walking down the street, on wrist, I think it just really has very classic proportions. Although it is, you know, very substantial with that height and kind of more sporty profile there. When you're looking at it from on this way, it really just kind of it's because it is so highly polished, it just, you know, it catches the light and really dresses it up, which I really can appreciate. And as you can see, profile wise. Really sits very nicely on the wrist, very comfortable, of course. So let me just get a little resting wristy here so you guys can get a pretty good idea of how this will look. All right, as far as kind of my overall thoughts, on wrist, it wears really, really nice. Again, those turn down lugs, they just wrap the strap around your wrist versus kind of suspending the watch on top of it, as you can, as you'll see certain other watch designs. So that's really nice. I really I can't think of any real comparable models. Of course, I can compare it to many different watches and even a few that I own, but I think that would really do this particular watch a disservice. So I'm going to skip that kind of section of the review, and kind of just jump straight to the bottom line. Really this watch has to be seen in the metal to truly be appreciated. Kind of the Art Deco styling that it has, kind of, in an extremely well finished package. I mean, it's just really an awesome watch. So couldn't be more pleased with this piece. Big ups to Watches by Nick Harris. Fantastic work as usual. I'm really looking forward to seeing more from the Orion line. I think it's really going to be a hit, and really, really cool brand. Good guy. So just want to let you guys know, keep an eye out for this piece. Check it out on my Instagram. I'll leave links below. I'll try to do it some justice in photos, but really you just got to see this thing in the metal. It's so simple and simplistic on paper, and in photos it's really hard to capture the kind of X factor and essence that this watch really exudes. But once you have it, I'm hoping that the video can kind of catch and give you a little bit of an idea of how this watch is in the metal and on the wrist, because I think that's where it really just sings. So with that said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. We also hit a milestone recently, 3,000 subscribers. So thanks guys, I really appreciate that. Please hit like if you like the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. All right, thanks guys.